RoughRiders starting an 8-game road trip with the first of 4 against the Corpus Christi Hooks, and we're joined by RoughRiders catcher Patrick Cantwell, who has started to pick it up a little bit offensively here. Patrick, how are you feeling at the plate after a slow start in Double-A, getting used to the transition? It looks like the plate appearances are better and that you're feeling more comfortable.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Definitely feeling more comfortable now. Seeing more pitches per at-bats helped me a little bit. Once you start to struggle to open up, you start pressing a little bit and things become more difficult. I just needed to get that first one out of the way, and things have felt much better lately. Not really focused on, the hits, more so putting together good at-bats and helping my team win and hitting the ball hard.
That first hit that you got was a bunt single, and then you had a ringing line drive base hit later in that game in Arkansas. How does that one hit, even if it's just a bunt single, how does it lift that pressure off of you and make things easier?
They always say the first one's the hardest, so it doesn't really matter how you get it, and it's something that I work on and I take pride in. So, it was a perfect time. I took advantage of third baseman playing back and just so happened to stay fair. So I was very grateful that one worked out in my favor.
What sorts of things have you noticed between the pitching that you saw in the Carolina League and the pitching that now you're seeing in the Texas League?
Better mistakes. It's hard to say a mistake is good, but when a pitcher makes a mistake here, it's either down or it's in a spot where they're not going to get hurt as badly as it would if, last year in Myrtle in the Carolina League. But, it's not drastic, but it's enough to where it'll frustrate a hitter. You're looking for that one or two pitches in that bat, and sometimes you don't get one, sometimes you do, and you have to try and take advantage of, every opportunity that you get.
First couple of weeks, you were splitting time with Tomas Telis. Now Zach Zaneski's off the disabled list. You got 3 catchers, all active, all trying to make sure they get in ball games. Does that make it difficult to stay as sharp when you're not out there 4 or 5 times a week?
Not so much for me. I split time last year with Deglin, so I'm used to it. Catching, Telly, I, and Zaneski, we all, we're out here early catching bullpens and stuff, so it's not hard to keep a feel. Probably the hardest part is in-game situations, Just, the speed of the game will pick up a little bit on you. But after the first inning, it's usually out of the way. Those first inning jitters after not playing for a day or two are gone. So I think it's been working out great, and I think, our pitchers have been doing a great job of helping us. They're throwing strikes. The innings haven't been dragging on. They're attacking guys, and I think that's helped us, with our confidence, sharing time.
You caught Luke Jackson the other night when he just had a phenomenal outing. Didn't allow a base runner until there were 2 outs in the 6th inning. Were you aware? I talked to Luke. He said he was aware that a base runner had not gotten on base. Were you aware that he had a perfecto going at that moment?
Going into the 6th, I kind of realized it. We had a couple good at-bats earlier in the game that the other team put together a couple good at-bats, and you could tell Luke's focus and intensity was there. He was making good pitches. A couple close 3-2 count calls. He went with what he felt, and he got some big outs. He was showing some emotion out there, so that was good. So, after about the 5th inning, it definitely started to set in a little bit, but you try not to think too much about it, And I thought Luke did a great job. He gave up the hit, and then he got the very next guy. He didn't let it get to him, so I thought that spoke to his character. I thought that was awesome.
Sometimes you can talk to a pitcher and he'll tell you before a game whether or not he feels particularly strong. Can you tell as a catcher when you're working with a guy in the bullpen or during warm-ups that he's going to have a good night, that the stuff's moving well?
You can definitely tell when he has his best stuff. Sometimes a guy will throw a great bullpen and it won't translate onto the mound, but for the most part, when a guy's stuff is moving in the bullpen and he has a good tempo and he's feeling good, he'll usually take it out there on the mound. On the off chance that it does happen, you just got to remind him of what he was doing in the bullpen to try and help him get through that, usually the 1st or 2nd inning where those struggles come in. But our guys have done a fantastic job of going out, attacking hitters, and throwing strikes. So it's made my job and Telly's job and Zaneski much easier.
We're here with RoughRiders catcher Patrick Cantwell. Patrick, you're noted for your terrific defense, and we've seen it in terms of throwing out base runners this season, better than a 50% clip. You and I have talked a little bit about it throughout the season and what you did in your college days. Where did that come from? Have you always been a guy who's been able to quickly get rid of the ball and gun down a runner at second base? Was there somebody that you learned from or looked up to in particular?
In all honesty, I was more of a middle infielder in high school. I caught a little bit my freshman year, played some outfield. I'd like to think I'm pretty athletic, so when those situations arise, I all the hard work that you put in spring training and the off season, you would like to think just takes over and allows you to make that throw. But Hector Ortiz and Benji Molina and Pudge Rodriguez have done a great job helping mold us, and we have our routines pregame where we work on that stuff. So it all comes down to what you're doing in the off season and how you're training, because in the speed of the moment, you're not thinking about where your hands are or where your feet are going to land. You're just going to let instinct take over, and I'm very thankful that so far this year I've done a pretty good job of limiting the runners.
People who see a lot of catchers in the minor leagues generally point to one guy above all others in the minors as far as his defense. And we just wrapped up a series against his team. Austin Hedges, noted as being a very strong defensive catcher. You had a chance to see him for a few games up close. Was there anything that you could see that makes him so good defensively that either you want to make a part of your game or just that you appreciated as a fellow catcher?
When you go out and you watch other teams, you always try and take something that one guy does well that you struggle with, and you try and see why he does well at it. And I think he stays very quiet with his body. There's really no wasted movement. He's a phenomenal catcher. He did a good job against us. He does a good job with his staff. He's a great throwing catcher, and he's real quick. But a lot of great throwing catchers will tell you that their pitchers also help them a lot. Varying looks, holding runners, slide stepping, and our pitchers have done a great job helping myself and Telly, and I'm sure Austin would say the same about his pitchers. So, I wish him all the best. He's a great player, and he's got a bright future ahead of him.
We'll have all season to talk about your fantastic Stony Brook career, but I want to ask you a little bit about one of your former teammates who plays for San Antonio, Travis Jankowski. Made a phenomenal catch in right center, then careened into the wall. Hurt himself pretty badly. Have you had a chance to talk to Travis, and how is he doing?
I talked to Travis. Unfortunately, he broke his wrist and his elbow, making probably the play of the year so far at our place. He's a little bit down, but he understands it's part of the game. He told me if he could go back and do it again, he'd still, he's not going to pull up on that ball. He's going to go full speed. That's just the way, he's been trained, and I give him credit for chasing that one down. That ball was hit well by Rugi, and he made a great play. And unfortunately, it didn't turn out very well in his favor. He got the out, but he got injured. He's just looking forward to getting healthy and getting back out there.
Well, we hope for a speedy recovery for him and continued success for you, both defensively, offensively, as the season goes on. Thanks a lot for the time, Patrick.
Thank you.
That's RoughRiders catcher Patrick Cantwell. We're back right after this on the RoughRiders Baseball Network.